Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them, and I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We're continuing our run of Uncanny X-Men, and we're heading into Follow the Mutants. This is the issue that will lead to Follow the Mutants for issues 225 to 26 and 227. Uncanny X-Men 224 from 1987 with a cover by Marc Silvestri. And we've got Longshot with this woman rescuing her from this car as Havoc is using his power here. Great cover. Bob Wyacek is the inker of the cover, and you can see here the Follow the Mutants is coming. And we're going to be covering it. I like the no background, and I like the red, the red for in the cover, the red color. That is actually pretty cool here. So, all right. Here we go. The dark before the dawn. And we have a lot of words. So we are in Yellowstone in Wyoming. The Wyoming side, actually Yellowstone covers a little bit of Montana, a little bit of Idaho, but most of it is in Wyoming. And so we have Storm, and Chris Claremont gives us a lot of exposition. Feel free to use that website that I am including if you want to see what's been happening before. I do have a playlist. I have every issue covered from Giant Size X-Men #1, which I covered as Classic X-Men #1, all the way to current. And I have an X Factor and a New Mutants and everything in between. Wolverine. I have an X Universe one where I put everything in reading order, so feel free to check out any you would like. We've got Chris Claremont, the writer. Marc Silvestri is the penciler. We don't have Dan Green inking it. Bob Wyacek is the guest inker. Thomas Zukowski is the letterer of letterers. He is my top three letterers with John Workman Jr. and Kevin Kline. Anna Senti and Tom DeFalco continue the editorial. Tom DeFalco has replaced Jim Shooter as editor-in-chief. Jim Shooter, rest in peace. So again, we have Storm here, and she's on a mission to get Forge, who is the one that took her powers away. She was going to get Forge to help her regain her powers, but something's going on. And then Naze is the one, he wants her to kill her because she says basically Forge has been taken over by the dark side. Of course, we know that is not true. It is actually Naze. Naze is actually dead, and inside him lives this demon being called the Adversary. But it is Forge whom he says is the Adversary. So that's kind of where we are currently here. So Naze says, the outfit suits you. And she says, it is beautiful. Now, they are continuing putting the accent on the Z. And if you remember in the beginning, the accent was on the E. Otherwise, this would be Naze. It would be really difficult because consonants do not go on vowels. Or Zukowski, I believe, was just making a mistake. The accent goes on. Accents go on vowels, not consonants. So, she says, "Where did you find it?" And Naze says, "These used to be our mountains. Lots of cachets through the high countries, buckskin furs, weapons, even food if you know where to look. I'm a medicine chief, I know." And Storm says, "Can your magics explain this weather?" And she goes, snow in the summer, have the elements gone bad? And she says, yep, and it's going to get worse if we don't stop Forge. Um, the Cheyenne, we call ourselves the human beings, believe all things living and not. They're composed of a set of store of energy. That's actually true. So, um, use it, use it up, they cease to be. And Storm says the scientific term is called entropy. Whatever. Anyway, the adversary, the great trickster, which is what he is, um, he figures to consume all that energy in one big burst. No more people, no more life, no more anything. Bang. It's dead. So that's actually, like I said, that is what he wants, except it's not Forge, it's him. And Storm says, why would he do such a thing? And Naze says, fun, maybe. We're mortals, Ororo. He's a god who can figure his motives. And Storm says, but will he not be destroyed as well by his own holocaust? And Naze says, nope, he survives, always has, always will. The cast the world anew and start the cycle over again. He's beyond life and death, laughing and dancing his way through eternity. And Storm says, you speak of him with admiration. And he says, I appreciate brass and style. He has both. So do you, as he sets more wood into the fire. Now, as far as I can tell, they haven't explained what he needs, because it is him, but he apparently needs something before he can get that power going on. So right now, he does seem to be stuck inside Naze. And so Storm says, and what of those who suffer and perish because of this whim? And he says, all things die, Ororo. In the greater scheme of things, does it really matter when? Well, to the person doing the dying, it sure does. I love the trees, just very simple, being put there. To the dying, my friend, yes, I just said that. That's awesome. And so, nice vertical panel showing all the aging and all his wrinkles here. And so he says, consider him a weaver and us the individual threads. What intrigues him is the pattern, not the fate of each bit of yarn. He ain't satisfied with his design. He tears the tapestry off the loom and begins again and again and again till he gets it right. So apparently he is world building, blissfully oblivious and immune to the consequences of his actions. We are not threads, Naze, we are people with patterns of our own to weave. Your trickster has no right to do this. And it's funny that they're having this conversation. Now, I have been to Wyoming, I've been to Yellowstone. The mountains are nice and tall, but they are not like this. They do not cut. Marc Silvestri is kayfabing all this. This guy did not look at any reference. Mountains in the Rockies are not this jagged, but we get the point. And so Naze says, he'd say, I got the might that gives me the right, same as the white man told the Indians when he stole our land. Who's to tell him he's different? There's Forge's mountain, his true Airy, the heart of his magics. You'll find him at the summit. Okay, so it's kind of funny. It's so they would have to go walk all the way down and then go all the way up. This isn't as this isn't like a just jump to the next mountain. You would be looking at days to get to the summit of the other mountain. So because you got to walk all the way down. So and so Storm asks, will you not be climbing with me? And Naze says, can't. This is as close as I dare come. He's expecting me, Ororo. His alarms and defenses are key to me, but they won't hardly know you're here. He loves you. At the last, when you face him, that'll make him hesitate. That'll make him vulnerable. And Storm says, and in that moment, I slay him. So Naze has convinced Storm that Forge has to die. And we're gonna keep going, and you're gonna see that the reason why Naze wants Forge dead. Again, Naze is the adversary. He is that trickster that was referred, that she is saying Forge is. So, all right. And so they hug, and she's gonna walk away, and then he holds her. He gives her a kiss, and she kisses him back, and he says, "A little something to remember me by," and she says, "A hardly little, and a memory I shall cherish until my return." And she says, "Hope you do." But he's apparently talking to himself, that because she's out of earshot. But I wouldn't count on it, he says. Me, I don't much care either way what happens, just so long as when this game is over, I win. And you can see that he's starting to disappear. So it's always been him, and it's a good. This is a good story. We're gonna see all this through Follow the Mutants. What's going on here? So, all right. So we are in San Francisco, and the X-Men were trying to stop the Marauders from killing Madeline Pryor, and so now Freedom Force has shown up here. We've got Destiny, Valerie Cooper, and the Crimson Dynamo. He's the newest member. He just joined the previous issue. They're talking about the battle between the X-Men and the Marauders here, and there's gonna be a newly passed law called the Mutant Special Powers Registration Act, in which mutants need to register their powers with the government. Real quick before I move on, I truly, truly, truly love this. The way that this is being portrayed, the cape is going down this way, and then the folds are going the other way. This is really well done. One of the other things, I've mentioned it before, Marc Silvestri, like Arthur Adams, has long legs. So everybody here, men, women, all have super long legs. Look at this. She's got to be 8 feet tall. So, anyway, Valerie is the government liaison of Freedom Force. So anyway, she's defending the registration, and this reporter says, "Has the administration considered the civil liberties ramifications of the new law?" And so she says, "What about the civil liberties of the people in the hospital?" So yes, the act may curtail the rights of the few, but in the case where the good of society, the defense of many must take precedence. So this guy says, "Except the whole point of a democracy is to protect the few from the many." That's actually not true, but hey. Miss Cooper, how do you explain the fact that all members of Freedom Force are criminals? Isn't that a bit like setting the fox to guard the chickens? And she says, "I prefer to say set the fox to catch other foxes." So the government isn't there to protect the few from the many. It's actually there to make sure that the many are, that society continues, and all that kind of stuff. So, all right. So she continues talking, and all these people are listening here, including Rogue, and Rogue. Let's see here. This is the gym, and she's not working at the gym. She must be somewhere else exercise, because this is not at a gym here. And she's working on a machine that's like from the Fantastic Four that the Thing uses here. So she is super, super strong. Look at this, 47.5 tons. So Rogan herself isn't strong, but she has absorbed Miss Marvel's powers. and Miss Marvel is now Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. But long story again, check out the playlist or the website. So, all right, and um, someone comes through, and it turns out that it is Mystique. Mystique is her foster mother, and Rogue says, "I'm losing my touch," or "I'm losing my touch," because she's a Southern from Louisiana. Um, Time was, I know it was you, no matter who you looked like. And so Mystique wants to tell her that Destiny had a precognitive flash about the X-Men in the very near future. In and around the city of Dallas, the X-Men are going to die. And she says, thanks, Mystique. I appreciate the warning. And she says, I didn't come simply to warn you, girl, but to take you away. Rogue, if you aren't with the team, you won't share their fate. And she says, they're my friends, Mystique. I care for them as much as I do. I won't walk out on them. But you will on me. And you can see that she is extremely sad about that. We're going to see what happens. Again, there's the 3-part series coming up called Fall of the Mutants here. And so now we are still in San Francisco, and we've got a Dazzler here and performing. She's a singer, and this guy he's drunk, knocks into the lights, and of course she creates her own lights, and they're like, oh my gosh, must be a mutant or something. They're like, who cares? Just enjoy this. So, and that's actually pretty cool. And so everybody claps, and Wolverine, who is currently team leader, is looking again great. Shadow leaving a little bit of the hat visible, the bottom of the legs. Again, long legs on everybody. So Allison Blair, of course, is enjoying the moment, and Wolverine is in there, and she's like, did you hear? They like me. They really like me. And Wolverine says, a lot to like, darling. Thanks. You've no idea how much this means to me. And Wolverine reminds her that she's a mutant, and going public with her powers like she just did may not be the smartest of plays, especially when the team's trying to keep a low profile. And she feels bad. She's screwed up, and she says, I'm sorry. And he says, don't be sorry, girl. Next time, just think harder. And so Rogue comes in and says, there may not be a next time, boss, or a future. And she continues, for Allie, you, me, any of us. So she's going to tell her Wolverine what exactly Mystique said. And so Havoc and Longshot are coming out of a movie, Raiders of the Lost Temple, which has Ricochet Rita on it. And if you remember the Longshot limited series, which I covered, she was a big part of his origin here. And as they're going through, they see this woman getting kidnapped. You see some cops here, and they shoot the cops here. And they take the girl. So as they go, Alex is kind of nonchalant, and he's still upset about Polaris. Polaris has been taken. He does not know Polaris has been taken over by Malice, so he thinks she went rogue or heel, and doesn't realize that it was Malice here. And so he's kind of very, not, he's not loving life exactly. So Longshot's going to do his best to rescue her. His powers are luck, and so he throws his little knives, which happen to hit the tires. Again, look at the long legs. If she were to stand up, but it works. And this is just a trope. This is how he draws. So this is Marc Silvestri's thing. If you take a look at his art, everybody has long legs. So he grabs her, And so because they're watching from behind, they miss it and they crash here. Love this slam. And Havoc says, "Had enough, fellas." And so they all come out and they're gonna fight Havoc. And he says, "Hey, I'm a mutant." And he explains his power. He projects high energy plasma and he melts their car. And so the cops arrive and they turn themselves in. And so the cop that's been helping them, let's see, Lieutenant Morel. She thanks him and look at the girl. "Oh, I love, 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 love." And he's like, "What the heck?" Anyway, she thanks him for his help and says that they are good people. So, all right. So Rogue explains to them um, about Destiny, how she reads the timelines here, and you see Havoc changing into his costume here. And Wolverine says, "Lady's been wrong before," meaning Destiny, "but we can't afford to take the chance." Rogue says Destiny claims Storm's the key. Trouble is, Ororo's in a special mission and we got no way to contact her. No cell phones back then. "So I'm going after her. Stands to reason, though, that whoever comes along is at risk. If Dallas is the critical danger zone, safest place is not to go there. Me, I never played it safe in my life. I ain't about to start. But I'm also not asking for help, and I won't think less of anyone who chooses to deal himself out against." It looks like this was relettered here. And Rogue says she'll go. Havoc says he'll go. And Psylocke says she'll go. Um, Longshot says he'll go. Dazzler says she doesn't want to die, but she'll go. And Maddie says, "I'll go too." And Wolverine's like, "Nah, you're not a mutant, and you're a civilian." And she's like, "Hey, so if I'm all alone, what will happen if the Marauders find me? You say if I come with you, I may die. If I left on my own, I will." And Havoc says that she'll watch her because she's Cyclops' wife, and Cyclops is Havoc's brother. And Wolverine's like so annoyed. He's like, "Well, whatever. Have it your own way. Let's roll." And so Psylocke is going to try to contact Storm telepathically. And she's like, "Storm, do you hear me? Are you in danger, Storm?" And so, okay, again, the cliffs and mountains are not this. It isn't that there's not steep areas, but for the most part, the mountains are not like this. There is just, this looks like something out of Lord of the Rings here. And so she's coming away, but things are starting. Here's some black lightning, and the demons are being. She's saying that similar to when the demons were fighting her. That was in X-Men 220. And there's an avalanche, and then she sees this thing here with the demons coming through, and she's like, "Forge, my love, what has possessed you? What have you done?" And so I love this ad. This was an ad for the Fall of the Mutants. Alan Davis did this, and Wolverine laying on poor Warlock. So we've got X Factor and the X-Men. A quick thing here. Nobody must have told Alan Davis that Colossus wasn't there, because here's Colossus, except Colossus is not part of the Fall of the Mutants, because Colossus is still recovering. But I love this cover here, or this, not this cover, this ad. It is so cool here. So we're only going to be covering X-Men and X Factor. We will not be covering New Mutants. It is I have the issues, but I don't think they'll do well. They didn't sell well during that time. They're not really. Maybe in the future I'll go in and cover them for completion's sake, but we'll see. But for sure, you will see all three issues of Uncanny X-Men and all three issues of X Factor will be covered. And so the demons are coming for her, and suddenly they sort of disappear. And so she's going to go. And look at, again, the mountains are not like this, but that's all right. So she sees Forge, and she's gonna go to him, but she slips here. And here's this big demon. She takes out her knife and slits its throat, and he falls, but there are more. She kicks it back toward them, and this one's ready to fight. They surround her, and Storm's like, as for my flesh, if you want it, pay for it in blood. So she goes and fights all of them. Storm is such a freaking badass. And so they all attack her, and you can see here, he grabs her, and this one is going to try to kill her. And so she's like, okay. And you can see that when he's going to stab her, she moves out of the way here. So, and she keeps running, but they keep following. And I also wanted to, this is the era, these are all the issues that were sort of going on during this time here. And man, oh man, I had most of these. I have Daredevil, I had New Mutants, I had Web of Spider-Man. I did not collect West Coast Avengers. I had G.I. Joe Special Missions. I did not collect Alpha Flight or Strike Force Morituri. I had Amazing Spider-Man, Captain America. Did not do Solo Avengers. Did not do Strange Tales. Didn't do Iron Man. Alpha Flight did do Iron Man. No. Avengers, yes. Hulk, yes. Marvel Tales, yes. Silver Surfer, no. X-Men, of course. G.I. Joe, yes. Marvel Saga, yes. Conan, no. Fantastic Four, no. I left after John Byrne. I didn't really care for the art. The Nam, no. Peter Parker, yes. Thor, yes. X Factor, yes. Classic X-Men, yes. Transformer, yes. Iron Man, yes. Official Handbook, yes. G.I. Joe Digest, yes. Avengers Index, yes. So that is all the stuff. So I was buying a lot of this compare. So that was going on back in that month in 1987. And so we continue here as she fights these demons, and she's like, nope, I refuse to give in. I will continue to fight. She, like I said, is such a freaking badass. And so she finally, and you can see she has killed all the demons. And here is Forge, who has a bionic leg. And he's like, who? Ororo. And he kind of smiles. And she's all like, and got her knife. And he says, how'd you find me? Why are you here? And she says, Naze showed me the way, and I have come to put an end to this madness. And she stabs him in the heart. The gate you seek to open would have destroyed the world. I cannot allow that. And she says, you're wrong. I was trying to close the gate, not destroy the world, but save it. As she now realizes that she has been played. And she's like, no. And she's like, she goes, your words, I know they ring true, your eyes, more sane than before. And she says the demons have been reanimated. And she goes, I was wrong. And he says, you were tricked. Forgive me. She says, and he says, always. Oh. And so they jump out. Suddenly, you can see that whatever was happening now, Forge isn't there to stop it. So it is full force. And Naze shoots at both of them, thinking he killed them. So ends the shaman, I don't know. So ends his Airy, and he says, not too shabby if I do say so myself, and the fun's only just begun. You played your part to perfection, Rin Rider. You and Forge were the only two capable of stopping me, and with you both gone, the world is mine for as long as it lasts. Next, the start of Fall of the Mutants. False Dawn. So Fall of the Mutants begins next month. So Uncanny X-Men 224. Chris Claremont, Marc Silvestri with Bob Wyacek. Like and subscribe, and I do thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.